Okay, this is test number 2, I suppose. It is 3:15 on Wednesday morning, and I found a little monologue, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and I watched it now 3 times over, and it's very raw and very, sad. I have a stain on my shirt, I have a bruise on my arm. It's sad. It's 3:15 in the morning. You can see the chins, acne. It's all very glamorous. But I just didn't want. I don't know how to edit or anything, but I feel like I may need to combine these 2 videos because the first one is just sad. But that's okay because I am sad and shit's sad right now. But there is another component to this, which is that looking at what I just said, I said a couple things that I think need to be expounded upon, like I've become my parents. I haven't become my parents. My father, I don't know. He's an alcoholic. It's pretty much, what I know about him. My mother is a recovered addict, so it's really not fair for me to say that I've become her because she has gone down the rabbit hole. She took the blue pill, and she came out. So she's more like the example of what not to do, and if you do it, how to fucking fix it, and how to come out the other end miraculously. But when I say I've become my parents, I mean that I was always the person, and I'm sure if you ask any of my friends from adolescence, middle school, high school, people that you first discover substances with, I was the den mother, and I get that from my mom. I was the one that would take control. I was the one that would drive. I was the one that would make sure if somebody took too much or they were freaking out at fucking Olive Garden or whatever on Tower of Terror or Space Mountain at Disney, I would make sure that you got home. I would make sure that you were safe. I would make sure you were taken care of at the expense of my own experience, but I also got off on taking care of them, and that is what I still do. I still take care of people, even when I want to get wasted. If I'm not fixing something, I can't enjoy myself, and I get that from having to take care of, I think, my mother for so long. Not that that's her fault, but it's learned behavior. There's something else that I said in the video that I just wanted to give context to, and now it has escaped me. But I think it had something to do with the fact that when I was trying to articulate what I don't fucking know what I'm trying to say anymore. I've had anxiety for the past 3 years. Yes, okay, full circle. So I was always the person that was in control. I was always the person that had their shit together, even when everything was falling apart around me, i.e. my mother being an addict, a lot of family members passing away within a short span of time. Not that other people don't go through that, but going through it while my mom was going through it, and while she was going through it as an addict that I had to worry about, and not having anyone to rely on other than my partner at the time, who was there for me, but it's not the same thing as being able to count on your mom and not knowing if she's alive or dead, or if she's going to show up at the funeral or the hospital, or whatever the case may be. That does something to you. And so all of those years that I had it together, even when everything around me was coming undone, that shit's catching up to me. It's caught up to me, and like over the past year to 2.5 years, I don't even exactly know when it started, but the end of a 15-year monogamous romantic relationship combined with moving across country and combined with I don't know, if the universe was just like, okay, you got everything that you wanted, now that you're where you wanted to be, or maybe you're like a little bit more stable now, we're gonna let all of that stuff that you were in control of come out of your system. And I think that's what the anxiety is. I think that's what the panic is. I think that's what the just waves, because it comes in waves, of being completely paralyzed with butterflies in your stomach that are so intense that you want to die. That feeling you get when you're going to get on a roller coaster, or you're excited for something the next day, or that feeling you would get when you were a kid and it was Christmas the next morning. Multiply that times 1,000. It's not fun anymore. It makes you sick, and it makes you not be able to function. But all of that, I think I'm aware that something is trying to work its way out of me. But in the process, like, I can't function. So the other thing that I wanted to say is that I'm trying to deal with the anxiety, which I never understood. I would look at my best friend, and she was somebody that always struggled with this, and now she's on the other end of it, and she's not on any meds, she's totally kicking ass. But I would look at her always and be like, this is somebody that, they're a 2-parent household, they're upper middle class, she always had money in her pocket, her college was paid for, a car was given to her, like everything that people of privilege get with no question, she always had. And I would look at her in high school and in my early 20s and say, like, why, like, I can't wrap my head around why she's upset, why she's sad, why she's depressed. And as I got older, like, I had more ability to, like, understand that those things don't matter when you're depressed. But there's a difference between cognitively understanding what that means, that, okay, it doesn't matter how much money you have, or obviously if you have a certain quality of life, it's easier if your needs are met to not be depressed. But if you are depressed, those things don't matter. But there's still a difference between cognitively understanding that and then being in those shoes and experiencing it. I've had money in my pocket. I've had money in my pocket, and I've still been to the point where it just, I don't care. But anyways, I understand now, having been on the other side and knowing, like, what it feels like to be completely depressed, that it has nothing to do, with being sad. It can, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're sad. It's not like something has upset you. You don't even need to be triggered. That's the fucked up thing. Like, it's so much more fucked up because oftentimes, for me anyways, like, there's no trigger. It's already there. But it doesn't really have anything to do with being sad, or I think loneliness has more to do with it than being sad or having a bad day or being down on your luck. All of those things, none of those things help. And certainly financial issues really feed into it a lot. For me, the thing that's fed into it more than anything is heartbreak. And I was just reading, I'm reading a book right now called The Trauma of Everyday Life, and it's by Dr. something Epstein, Mark Epstein, I'm not sure, but he talks about, like, in the opening paragraph of how when he was first practicing, he should have been more acutely aware of how expansive depression is and how much more subtle it is than what it's clinically or textbook described as, because he says that his first 3 patients out the door when he was a clinician were suicidal women, clinically depressed, all the textbook symptoms of women, people that wanted to end their life, and all 3 of them, it was because their men had left them. So heartbreak, yes. Heartbreak is worse than grief for me, because with grief, you have closure. With heartbreak, there's no closure. Again, finances play a lot into it, because if you're not on solid ground, it's a lot easier to feel not on solid ground. But I just wanted to say, I guess, long story long, for me, like, the best way that I can articulate how I feel and why I drink is not because I'm sad. The world is sad, everything's sad. I walk over, I don't even know how many homeless people a day. For me, it's animals, like the shit that we do to animals on a daily basis makes me want to cry all day, every day. So I have to tune a lot of that out, but that's not what makes me depressed. What makes me depressed is that numbness and that boredom, that it's not hopelessness, although that can also feed into it, but it is more than anything just when you start to see yourself losing interest, and or maybe not losing interest, maybe you'll still engage in the same things that make you or made you happy, but that they don't bring you the same level of stimulation. When you experience that restlessness combined with you don't know what to do with it, combined with just boredom, and not like, oh, if I just do this, I won't be bored anymore. No, like, I'll do that thing, I'll go walk, or I'll go exercise, or I'll go see a movie, which I love more than almost anything. And the shine has worn off of it. Like, it's just not... I still appreciate it. But either before, during, or after, I want to have a cocktail, because the cocktail puts me back where I once was.